Am I shamelessly ripping off iSorrow Productions' newest slot video? Yes. Do I think I have at least some level of an interesting perspective on this? Maybe a little bit. So yes, I just today saw iSorrow's slop channel do a Hoi 4 mod tier list. And he just kind of did a tier list where it was just, he found a tier list that had stuff on it and just judged whatever was on it. I'm doing something a little different. I found a pre-made tier list. It was made by this guy, Kabu. And then I proceeded to just add a number of other mods that I either know of or am subscribed to this, just to add a bit more variety to it, you know? Add a bit more variety, and I think what we've got here is a good amount of variety, right? So we're doing the stereotypical tier maker thing. We're going from S to F tier, as well as a tier for mods that I either haven't played or are simply dead, and therefore, you know, there's nothing to really talk about since they might just, you know, be gone. There's not much to talk about because their content is just outdated. So, without further ado, let's get started. First up, let's get some of these out of the way first. Après moi le déluge. I am aware it has a certain reputation, but I have not played it, and also I'm fairly certain it's a dead mod anyway. I don't think it's been updated in a while. So, yeah, that's going at the bottom. I haven't played it. Neither have I played Darkest Hour. I am aware of what Darkest Hour is, but again, I just have never played it. Those types of mods, like Darkest Hour and Black Ice, they're just not really the kind of thing that I play Hoi 4 mods for. I usually play Hoi 4 mods for interesting alternate histories scenarios and things like that, so mods that focus mainly on just enhancing the gameplay of the default game or making things harder as a challenge is just not really my wheelhouse, so I haven't really played most of those. Now, in terms of the alt history stuff, Der Bruderkrieg, a mod that is set during the Brothers' War between Prussia and Austria, or at least around that time period. The mod is certainly not complete, and it is decent in terms of content, although having played it a few times before, I find that for the player, it turns out to be pretty easy, especially if you're Prussia. So it can get boring pretty quickly after just like maybe 1 or 2 playthroughs. Along with the fact that not every country has their full focus trees from what I recall, so yeah. I'll put that one in C tier simply because it's pretty average, I think. Pretty you know. It has potential. It has potential to get up there because what is there is pretty good, but there's just not much, you know? There's just not much. It's average. It's okay. Empire. So I looked this up. The Empire mod is a mod that used to be dead, but is not anymore. And it is a mod that is supposed to start in 1699. Yeah, it's basically like Europa Universalis in Hoi 4. And it is ambitious. I have not gotten the chance or time to play it yet, because I just looked it up like today just to figure out what in the world this thing is. But yeah, it seems pretty ambitious. I don't know if it's going to live up to the promises that it's making, but I respect what they're trying to do. I respect it. They're trying to sort of put Hoi 4 in 1699 without totally rewriting the entire system of Hoi 4. Like some other mods. TNO, we'll get to you later. But yeah, I respect what they're trying to do. Haven't played it yet, though, so can't make a judgment. End of a New Beginning. End of a New Beginning is apparently surrounded in drama between developers and all this stuff with, I think, about assets or things like that. I have no idea, but I've played it a bit, and honestly, it's kind of boring. Like, I seriously respect what it's trying to do, but it just feels really boring. Like, really, I don't know. Something about the focus trees or the tech or something there just... It feels like nothing's happening. It just doesn't feel like anything's happening. I don't know. But granted, I haven't played it in a little while. I'm just going off of what I remember. And what I remember was getting pretty bored pretty quickly. So it's not horrible. You know, it's not unplayable. You know, if the long game really is your type of deal, then yeah, I could see you getting into that one. But it's definitely not for me. Equestria at war. Oh dear. Oh dear. Okay, so I know this fan base is very passionate, but I won't have to, thankfully, I will not have to, hide any opinions here, because I genuinely actually like and respect this mod. I think this mod is genuinely really, really good. It is way better than you would expect out of a Brony mod. Like, a full-blown new map. Not just new borders for Earth, but a new map entirely, with new countries and everything. That in and of itself is insanely respectable from a modding perspective. That's already crazy, right? And then the amount of detail they went into for every single country, all the way down to the models, it is insane the amount of content and detail in this mod. Seriously, even if you're not a My Little Pony fan at all, I think anyone who has played Hoi 4 for long enough should at least check out Equestria at War at least once, just to see how insane mods can truly get in terms of quality and overhaul, you know? And there will be other mods here where I will discuss things similar to that, but we will get to those later. So, Fuhrreich and Fuhrer Redux. I'm doing these in a pair, sort of, because, well, they're the same thing, technically speaking. Fuhrreich is the original mod. It is, how to explain it? It is, the question, the prompt is, what if Germany lost World War I, which of course is our timeline, but it is told through the perspective of alternate history writers from the Kaiserreich universe, which we will get into later, which is a universe where Germany won World War I. So it's people in that universe speculating about what our universe might look like had Germany lost World War I. Which is already a hilarious prompt to begin with. It's so insanely meta. It's great. Unfortunately, the original Fuhrreich mod is dead. I don't remember what happened. I think there was something involving community drama somewhere along the line, developer drama, but the original Fuhrreich mod is dead. It's not being updated anymore. It's not being worked on at all anymore. Instead, there's Fuhrer Redux, a group of people trying to essentially continue where Fuhrreich left off. And as of now, it's similar to De Bruyne Krieg, where it's got content, it's got potential, but it needs a bit more. It needs more work. It needs more polish, and a little bit more fleshing out of what is there, so that it can really come into its own. You know. Hopefully, it'll reach that point in the future, but given what happened to the original version of the mod, I don't know. Cold War Iron Curtain. Cold War Iron Curtain is... I like it. I like it. I think it does have a lot of it's quality. It is a quality mod. It is an enjoyable quality mod, especially if you are a fan of that sort of era of history. If you enjoy the Cold War era more than World War II or something like that, you will enjoy the Cold War Iron Curtain mod. Like, I know you will. It is a very, very good Cold War mod. It's just that you have to, it's a little rough. It's just a little rough around the edges in my experience. And also, personally, I know this can be fixed with other mods that you can put in your mod list, but I just really don't like the map. The map is this, like, really bright thing with really bright white letters and bright colors everywhere. It's like, I don't know, I just don't like it. I don't like it. I feel like I get what they're trying to do, make it feel a bit more futuristic-y, but I don't like it. It's a little too aggressive. Alright, Kaiserreich and Kaiser Redux. Oh boy. Like I said, Kaiserreich, it is what if Germany lost World War I, and, well, I mean, I kind of have to put it here. I kind of have to put Kaiserreich here, because it's Kaiserreich. It is the Hoi 4 mod. It is the mod. It is baby's first Hoi 4 mod in terms of people who begin to play Hoi 4 mods. It's almost guaranteed to be the first mod that they're going to play. Because it's Kaiserreich. It's got a basic premise, it has legacy, and it's just got a ton of content, and all of it is, for the most part, really, really polished and well done. It's got a really, like, in-depth narrative that it wants to tell, and this whole thing. However, that is also my problem with it. Personally, I don't like the way Kaiserreich structures the game. It feels way too, and this is why it's not an S tier for me, it feels way too railroady for my taste. I prefer when mods allow for a lot of player expression and player action. Kaiserreich, unfortunately, is really dedicated to telling its stories, so even when you have the choices of going down certain paths, you're really just deciding what events you're going to read more than anything else. And I don't know, I don't really like that. I don't like that I'm basically just stuck doing whatever path the game wants me to do, as opposed to having the opportunity to branch out on my own and sort of shape things a little bit more than the way they were intended. You know, like how in Kaiserreich they take away your ability to justify war goals, for instance. So if you want to expand, too bad. If you ended up with a path that doesn't do much expanding or going to war at all, too bad, you can't justify war goals. The game doesn't let you. It just doesn't let you. And in some cases, the game doesn't compensate for this by giving you much in the way of expansion paths. At least from what I recall. And that's assuming you get to that point. A lot of the times the Kaiserreich stuff just takes forever to get to the fun part, as far as I'm concerned. Like, they reworked Germany a while back, and they created this whole collection, all these mini-games to play to deal with the economic crash of what they called Black Monday in the Kaiserreich universe if you play as Germany, since Germany is like the source of the Great Depression in the Kaiserreich universe. And you have to go through all of these different mini-games to handle the economy and prevent your government from collapsing in on itself and being replaced by a different government that you didn't want, and all this stuff. It's like, why can't I just play the game? I don't like these mini-games. The decisions tab is just, it's filled with all this junk that I don't want to deal with. The card game thing is stupid. Anyone who has played Germany recently knows what I'm talking about. And I know you can disable the card game, but like, why do I have to go? It neuters the game in the process. You effectively get neutered by not doing the card game in the first place because they intend for you to do the card game. It's like, I really don't like how they try to railroad you into things. It's very annoying. I want more player expression. And that's why Kaiser Redux goes into S tier for me. Yes, I know it runs like absolute dog water, because of all the stuff going on. For anyone who's not aware, Kaiser Redux is essentially the split-off point between Kaiserreich and the rest of the community, where Kaiser Redux takes Kaiserreich and then compiles all the wacky paths and stuff that the Kaiserreich devs took out of the mod, and also combines that with all of these different sub-mods that people have made for Kaiserreich over the years. Just turns them into this one mega mod that, personally for me, is my ideal Hoi 4 mod. Again, I know it runs terribly, especially in the late game. It just really, it chugs hard. It chugs hard. But for someone like me who plays Hoi 4 practically like a clicker game with how much I have it open, I can handle that. I'm fine with that. And my computer's able to deal with it just fine as well. But I just love all the player expression, all of the insane paths that you can do, all of the countries that you can form, the leaders that you can get, and all of the things that you can get involved in. I mean, just the one fact of being able to justify your own war goals does so much for allowing player expression. That alone allows for you to do so much by allowing you to choose how you're going to engage with the rest of the game world, rather than letting the game dictate it for you. Because, yeah, if the focus tree doesn't have you going to war in a certain region of the world, you can do it yourself, you know? So yeah, I love Kaiser Redux. I respect Kaiserreich for the legacy it has and the genuine quality and polish that it has, but I much prefer Kaiser Redux for, despite the jankiness, despite the optimization, for just being what I feel is the absolute peak of player expression in Hoi 4 mods. So yeah. On the subject of Kaiserreich stuff, I'll just get this one out of the way now. Kalterkrieg. Kalterkrieg is a very new mod, and what it is, this one is one of the ones I added. This one is supposed to be, it's called Shadow of the Second Weltkrieg, and what it is a sequel to Kaiserreich. It's a Cold War mod for Kaiserreich. Kaiserreich is a World War II, is still a World War II scenario. Kalterkrieg is a Cold War scenario. So it's kind of like the Cold War Iron Curtain equivalent for the Kaiserreich universe. And it has a lot of potential. It's still, I think it's also very much in C tier right now. It came out swinging with a lot of content in there. But there's a good amount of polish that it needs to handle before it truly becomes great, you know, and enters the annals of Hoi 4 modding history. We will see. We will be watching its progress. I will be watching its progress with great interest. To make a certain quote. Now, Millennium Dawn. Oh, if you thought Kaiser Redux ran bad, Millennium Dawn, oh god. You pretty much have to run the Millennium Dawn optimization mod, otherwise the mod is going to crash within, like, the first year or two, guaranteed. Because the Millennium Dawn is a modern day mod. It's set in, like, the year 2000. At least that's the primary start date. And it tries to overhaul every possible system in Hoi 4 to fit the modern day, to create modern day spheres of influence, modern day economy, modern day everything. Absolutely everything, and it is insane. It is way too much. It is way too much, and aside from the fact that that alone makes things really, really confusing, aside from the fact that that alone makes things really, really confusing, it also makes the game incredibly unstable. Just incredibly, incredibly unstable. It is insane. I've tried playing it before. It always just crashes on me. I cannot be bothered to play that mod anymore. It's just awful. New Ways, I think I've played like once, maybe. But I haven't played it pretty much ever since, if I have. So I'm putting it in here, but I will warn you all, New Ways is meant to be a bit of an overhaul for base game Hoi 4, in that it just adds more stuff to Hoi 4 and overhauls the map and does all this other stuff. But from what I remember, it is also in a similar situation where it's very unstable and very laggy, so just a warning. Novum Vexillum, I'm aware of what it is. It's another modern day mod. I believe it's more loyal to the traditional Hoi 4 formula, but I haven't played it. These two were ones that were put here by the original Tierlist creator. Same with Old Europe. I have not played Old Europe. In fact, ISP's video also included Old Europe, and that video was the first time I had ever even heard of Old Europe. But you can already tell just from the picture what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a mod that starts in the year 1300, which... yeah, I don't know, I'm skeptical about that one. You're entering, like, Crusader Kings, Europa Universalis in terms of timeline, and you're trying to apply Hoi 4 mechanics to it, and I don't think that's gonna work. Old World Blues, S tier. S tier, absolutely S tier. It is insane. It's a Fallout mod, and it is decently lore accurate. It can get a little kooky at times, but it tries its best, and it is insanely high quality. Insanely high quality. Everything it releases is polished to a shine. And like even the most minor nations in the game have this super detailed generic focus tree that allows them to do stuff. It's awesome. There's so much to talk about with Old World Blues. It would deserve a video all on its own. All I will say here is, if you have Hoi 4 or you're interested in playing Hoi 4 mods, Old World Blues should be at the top of your list. Absolutely. It is insane. It is amazing. Pretty much just universally acclaimed. Dare I say one of, if not the best Hoi 4 mod out there. Sorry, Kaiserreich. The Fallout fans beat ya. Pax Britannica. I like Pax Britannica. I like it. It's pretty limited on content. It's a very bizarre, like, dark alternate history scenario in which, like, I think the whole idea is that Tesla's technology becomes super popular around the world and all this, and so everything is very, not necessarily steampunk, but, you know, that Tesla tech style. And it gets very, very dark. You have like a cyborg Queen Victoria who's been alive for hundreds of years and all this stuff. It's a little crazy. You have abominations and mechs and all this, and it's a little schizo. It's one of the schizo games. It's one of the schizo mods, you know? And I like it. I very much like it. I love the aesthetic. I love the music. I love the presentation is great, and the kind of stories that I guess they're trying to tell, or the things you can do in it theoretically, are really cool. And I say theoretically because right now it's still a little limited on content. There are a good few nations you can play as. You can play as Britain, France, Germany, the British, not British Commonwealth, but like the United Commonwealth, because in this timeline, the technology allowed Britain to suppress the American Revolution. So the what would be America is still a part of the British Commonwealth, as well as some American revolutionaries off in like in the Pacific Northwest. So those are the areas you have content for. There's not really anything you can do in like Asia or Africa or anything like that. So perhaps in the future they'll get content, but what content is there is pretty good. Pretty good. Red Flood. This is where my bias comes in. I love Red Flood. It's janky as shit. It's wacky. I love the concept of I love the idea of like, what if nobody won World War I, and in turn all the major societies of Europe just collapsed into radicalism, and so you have these insane ideologies just seizing control of most major superpowers, and just see what happens. Just see what happens, right? Accelerationist France, Spartacus Germany, a Russian Civil War, because there's always a Russian Civil War, right? Meanwhile, Britain and America are like some of the only countries left desperately trying to hang on to sanity in a world that is becoming enveloped in madness. I love it, and I love some of the crazy paths. I know that right now, Red Flood is going through a bit of an overhaul. They're doing a lot of reworking of the lore and the history and all this. And in turn, the next rework for some of the countries like France is going to basically completely change the focus trees and the things you can do. But I hope they don't completely remove the madness, because I think the madness is part of the mod's identity. Like, embracing that sort of insane accelerationist Art Deco sort of style is really part of the mod's identity at this point, and again, it makes it stand out. And I enjoy the amount of player expression that can come through that, you know? So yeah, I really like Red Flood, and I really hope that when they do the rework, they at least keep a good chunk of the madness. I get you want to get rid of some of the crazier, more unrealistic LARPs and things like that, but you know, let's at least keep some of the a good chunk of the weirdos around. I want to keep like the Finno-Egyptian dude in Finland, right? I want to keep a few of those things. So yeah, that's Red Flood. Red World. Red World was a modern day mod where the premise was that what if America collapsed rather than the Soviet Union? And unfortunately, the developer for the mod passed away. But some fans have taken on to carrying on his legacy in the Red World fan fork and continuing to update the mod. Not adding new stuff to the mod, but making sure at least not to my knowledge. To my knowledge, their main priority is just preserving the mod so that people can still experience what the original developer had in mind. And I think for that alone, I respect it, especially since it manages to sort of fit the modern day into the Hoi 4 formula without completely reworking all of its systems. So I respect that a lot. And, in respect to the developer who sadly passed away, I put it in A tier. Road to 56... begrudgingly in B tier. Personally, for my own feelings, I put it in C, but I understand and respect that all the effort that is put into Road to 56. which is essentially just a vanilla plus mod, right? It's a vanilla plus mod, it's nothing special, but what it does decently, you know? It's pretty average, but it's certainly a bit higher quality in terms of polish than some of the other mods that might end up in C tier. The New Order. I don't know what this New Order is. I know what this New Order is. I don't know what this is. I haven't even looked this one up. I'll probably look it up after recording this, but yeah, I have no idea what this is, so we're just gonna put that there, and I'll deal with that later. The Great War and the Great War Redux. The Great War, it's similar to a Fuhrreich Fuhrer Redux situation. The Great War was, of course, a Great War mod. It's just a World War I mod. It's just, what if we just take Hoi 4, set it in World War I instead of World War II? Done. No alternate history scenario to kick things off or anything like that. However, I believe the original developer of the Great War mod ended up moving on from the mod and went on and made his own World War I game or something like that. That's what I've always heard. Which, you know, all respect for him or her, whoever, but yeah, all respect to whoever did that. And then other people took up the mod and created the Great War Redux to just keep going. And honestly, I don't know, it's okay, but it's World War I. It's really boring, honestly. I've played it a few times. Not much really happens. I mean, again, it's World War I. What do you expect? Yeah, there's just not much going on with it. It's pretty boring. Yeah. Now, Thousand Week Reich and the New Order. Thousand Week Reich and the New Order are both the same kind of mod, in the sense that they are both built on the same premise. What if the Axis powers won World War I? But they happen in very different ways. Thousand Week Reich is, which I will say from the outset, is the one I prefer. Thousand Week Reich is the more realistic of the two. It tries to go at it from a realistic scenario. So it's essentially a Cold War mod where the Cold War is between America and the Nazis, rather than America and the Soviets, pretty much. Since the Soviets collapsed, France was taken, Italy broke off from Germany at some point to form its own faction, and Britain managed to sign a ceasefire with Germany. And America just ended up never getting involved in the war. At least not in Europe. In Thousand Week Reich, America certainly got involved in Japan, because Japan still did its thing, and Japan still got stomped by the United States. So we still have an allied occupied Japan, but Europe is dominated by the Axis from the very beginning. TNO, on the other hand, the New Order, is a grim, dark scenario of everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Japan won, Germany won, Italy won, the bad guys won, and the bad guys are the bad guys in the worst ways possible. They are cartoonishly evil, to the point where you have Himmler running his own personal little SS state in Burgundy. This whole other thing. It's a whole meme thing. And also, I'll put TNO in D tier. Not for the quality of TNO itself. TNO is very high quality, but rather because TNO was clearly made by people who didn't want to make a Hoi 4 mod. It was clearly made by people who wanted to make a visual novel and not a mod for a war game. Because the mod... there's so little in the way of actual Hoi 4 gameplay, as opposed to just clicking on decisions and reading events. Events that, mind you, are written like excerpts from novels and things like this. Like, it is, again, it's just a visual novel. It's a visual novel inside a Hoi 4 mod, so that's why I'm putting it in D tier, because it's quality, it's high quality, that's why it's not an F tier, but this is clearly not a mod, this is clearly not something that is meant for Hoi 4. This is a project that exists in Hearts of Iron 4 almost begrudgingly, because they really want to just turn it into a visual novel where you can choose the story you're going down, like a choose your own adventure, right? Meanwhile, Thousand Week Reich actually structures itself like a Hoi 4, like a proper Hoi 4 mod. You get your story, but you're building up to the next big war, depending on what country you're in. You can unite the Soviet Union, you can assume new leadership of Nazi Germany under various leaders, and they all have their different vision of what the German Reich should be, and all this, and that might lead you to a third world war with the Toronto Accord, which is that mod's version of NATO. You can be the United States and try to do, United States things and create liberal democracies and try to put down the Nazi menace once and for all. All this stuff, right? You can be the French resistance and reclaim the metropole and do all this stuff. There's actual gameplay involved alongside the story. I think it's much better because it's designed as a Hoi 4 mod. And it finally, after I think 2 years of no updates, it finally got an update that reworked a bunch of content. It removed a bunch of old, outdated, and just nothing content. And has just prepared Thousand Week Reich for the future, pretty much. Now then, World Ablaze. It's another one of those mods that I'm aware of what it is, but I haven't played it. To my knowledge, it's kind of like New Ways. But that's about all I know. Age of Imperialism. Solid C tier. It's very average. Like, what's there is decent, but it's also just kind of boring. Again, it has more going on than the Great War Redux, but not too much. Not too much more. I think they need to add more in the way of, events and things to do, but at the same time, what is there is still decent. Second Sengoku. The Second Sengoku, I don't know whether to put it in C or B tier because I haven't played it in a while. But what Second Sengoku is essentially a reunification of a shattered Japan between monarchists, republicans, socialists, all this stuff. It's weird. It takes place entirely in Japan, a supersized, super detailed map that is just Japan, right? And your interactions with the outside world are through the decisions tab and all this stuff. And it's actually really interesting and really cool. I just don't know how far it's going to go. So I think that's why I'm putting it in C tier. I don't know how far it's going to go, how in-depth it's going to get. So we'll just have to see. Rise of Nations. I tried out Rise of Nations just a little bit before this video, and first impressions, I see the potential. Okay, this one has a fat asterisk attached to it. I might just have to play the other start dates, because I did the 1900 start date and decided to play from there. And I see there's a lot of content going on. There's a lot of things going on. But I don't know if I can actually sit through an entire century's worth of Hearts of Iron 4. Even with my level of patience. I don't know if I can sit through an entire century's worth of Hearts of Iron 4. But who knows? Maybe I'm not the target audience for it, or maybe I just need to try some of the other start dates. So, either way, this one has a fat asterisk attached to it. This is just my first impression of it. Extremis Ultimus, solid D tier, interesting idea. Basically, a modern day everything goes wrong scenario. America collapses. Absolutely insane people start to take over and create dystopias and all this stuff. It's just madness all over the place. I can see it becoming famous in the same way Red Flood did, because of, crazy people, right? I can see the potential, but it's all that's out right now for it is a demo, and the demo has very limited content, so solid D tier. In the Name of the Tsar. I have not played In the Name of the Tsar, but I am aware it is also a dead mod, so I included it purely for completion's sake, because I know In the Name of the Tsar, similar to Après Moi le Déluge, has a bit of a legacy, in that it was like it's a classic mod, pretty much. You have to constantly roll Hoi 4 way back to be able to play it. But it's considered a classic mod. It's very basic, very rudimentary in terms of how things are, like how things behave, what the mechanics are, etc., etc. But I figured putting it on there just for the legacy of it, since again, it's like a classic, might as well. Ashes of Libertad. Ashes of Libertad is another one that I am honestly going to put in A tier. There's only a demo out right now with very limited content, but I played it when it came out and it is super high quality. Like, insanely high quality for what it is. It's insanely ambitious as well. It is a post-apocalyptic South America. That's the setting. Post-nuclear war South America. And essentially trying to unite the old countries, form new ones, unite South America, do whatever. And it is crazy. In the good way. I know I've been saying that a lot about a lot of mods, but that's just the best way I can think to describe it. It's super ambitious, it's super creative, and the presentation is amazing, and the gameplay doesn't fall flat either. So I highly respect this mod, and I highly recommend anyone who's interested in just that premise alone to try it out. Lord of the Rings. Solid B tier. I think I played it like a few times before, and I had just seen the screenshots of it again. I respect, again, crazy respect for the fact that they created a whole new map, similar to like Second Sengoku, Ashes of Libertad, and so on. Because they created an entirely new map for it, but it also seems just a little generic. Maybe that's just because it's Lord of the Rings, and it's like, what do you expect? It's Lord of the Rings. And also, if you want a Paradox Lord of the Rings game, why are you doing Hoi 4? Crusader Kings is right there. So, yeah. Judgment Day, Aftermath of the Red Flood. Judgment Day is in the same tier as Extremis Ultimus, and I'm putting it there for pretty much the same reason as Extremis Ultimus, in that it's just a demo for a really creative idea. Judgment Day is basically a I wouldn't say Cold War, but it's a post World War II mod for Red Flood, basically. Like, because Red Flood, the name Red Flood is supposed to be like a reference to World War II, like the inevitable flood of red, the inevitable blood that is to be spilled in this world of madness when the next World War sparks. And so this is, it's called Judgment Day, Aftermath of the Red Flood. So, it's supposed to be what happens after the Second Great War had occurred. And it's got the same sort of like craziness as the original Red Flood, and it's got a lot of potential for even more, but again, it's just a very basic, very limited demo, just like Extremis Ultimus, so we're just keeping it there for now. Project Ulysses. Project Ulysses, it's going in the same tier as Lord of the Rings. It's a very ambitious project. It's putting not Project Wingman, Ace Combat into Hoi 4. The Ace Combat world map is in Hoi 4, and it basically allows you to just play through the Ace Combat timeline in Hearts of Iron, which, given the nature of the Ace Combat timeline, makes a lot of sense. So I respect it a lot, and it seems to be chugging along pretty well. Project Valacord, A tier. Absolutely A tier. It's up there with like Equestria at War. It is a Star Wars mod. And the territory are planets. The land are the planets in Star Wars. It is a complete restructure of all of Hoi 4 to fit the Star Wars universe, and somehow these madmen have made it work. And it is actually, like, kind of good. Again, I love it. I love it. It's a technical achievement, and the fact that it actually plays well is an achievement in design. The Metro mod, not so much. The Metro mod, I would put it in F, honestly, but it has decent content in it, and the map is really cool looking. The fact that they took the Metro from the Metro series and turned it into a Hoi 4 map, I respect the creativity of it, but the fact that there's really not much going on and it feels kind of janky, I don't know. Feels very D tier to me. North America Divided. North America Divided, C tier. Very janky, very kooky. Similar to Second Sengoku, the entirety of North America from like Central America all the way up to Canada has been shattered into its various states and provinces that are now all independent governments. And you can do a bunch of silly stuff. That's about it. There's no seriousness to be had. It is just silliness. Silliness all around. Hearts of Minecraft. It's going up here again. It's the same thing as Equestria at War, except it's Minecraft. They created an entirely fictional Minecraft world and populated it with its own lore and all this other stuff, and like the Nether is in the map as well, and so I don't know how they managed to pull it off, but they did. Like, it actually works. It actually works. I don't know how they did it, but they made it work. It's insane. I said it again. I said insane again. Whatever. I apologize. Make America Again. This is similar to North America Divided, except it is modern day. I'm gonna put it here in D tier because it's basically D for demo for the most part. Because Make America Again is also a mod that exists purely as a demo right now, but it is a decently high quality demo, and it operates under the same premise as North America Divided, except it doesn't take place in 1936. It takes place in the modern day. Oh no! Where the, I believe, 2020 presidential election instead led to a civil war that shattered the country, and so now you have a bunch of regions who may or may not be loyal to either Trump or Biden, who actually died in the timeline. So instead is Harris, which, wow. as well as dealing with a bunch of other separatist factions that just want to become completely independent and all that stuff. Kanye West is leading the Confederate States of America in the South. That's all you need to know. And then Vive la France. I forget what the 1870. That's what the name of the mod is. 1870. Vive la France is the update. 1870. It's a Franco-Prussian War mod. Gonna be honest, I don't remember anything about this one. I'm subscribed to it. I don't even remember if I played it before, so I'm just gonna put it there. But yeah, there you go. So, if anyone was ever wondering about my opinions on Hoi 4 mods, I know you probably weren't, but I am very passionate about Hearts of Iron 4. I have over 2,000 hours in it. As I have mentioned on a community post before. So, I've done the circuit of mods before. Multiple times. You can kind of tell what my preferences are just by how I tier these things. But yeah, these are my thoughts on some of the Hoi 4 mods that are out there. Maybe you learned about some mods that you hadn't known of before. Maybe there are mods on here that you enjoy that I haven't heard of or didn't put on here. Or just didn't think to put on here. Who knows? If there's anything that's not on here that I didn't mention, feel free to mention it in the comments. Or just feel free to give your opinion on what, where you think some mod should go if you also play Hoi 4. Either way, I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you all later. And lastly, a special thank you shout out to Mike Uniturtle and Reese. Thank you.